A portfolio lets you show what you know. Artifacts serve as tangible proof of your accumulated learning, practical experiences, and ambitions. Examples of artifacts can be anything from a research paper, a slide deck, pictures of you volunteering, or a class video you made. But it's not enough simply to show that something happened. You need to write about what it means now and what it'll mean in the future. To do that, you'll use the critical reflection model and answer 3 questions. What? So what? Now what?
So the 2 artifacts, well, I have 3, but the 2 that I showed on this page both have to do with my marketing internship. I wanted to organize them that way. And the first one I did was more specifically my marketing internship at Ampex Brands. So the artifact that I chose was just a picture of me doing work, and that is at the restaurant taking pictures of food. And I chose that as well as more specifically an artifact in the social media that I do and one of the reels that I made for one of the brands that I work on.
So my favorite one that I've gotten to work on was Format Festival. I was a student advertising consultant, and we worked as an integrated advertising campaign proposal team. And so I got to lead that, so I really wanted to show my leadership skills in this, but also just the creativity of it all, because it really does lead into my professional skills as an ad PR professional coming up. So I have a blast video that professionals can watch, and then also the entire project.
I chose to do my creative content that I have. So I have 2 Instagram accounts that I made. The first one is called Cooking with Hanny. And I chose this one because cooking is something I'm super passionate about. But I was looking at it, or I was thinking about when people ask me what my hobbies are, and I, always say cooking. And I was like, well, how can I turn that into something that's compelling for employers? And then I looked into just how I naturally do cook, and it is through a creative lens. Half the time I don't even use a recipe, and that's where I find my enjoyment. And then I thought about, well, how can I turn this into something that can be visually appealing for people to look at? And so I started practicing with content creation through those Instagram accounts. And I don't have any of the cooking examples on here, but I do for the book club one. And that was just a similar situation. Book reading is something that I do every single day. It's changed my view of the world. It's really helped my creativity. And on Hanny's book club is where I do a lot of graphic design and stuff like that, where that's something that employers will be able to see.
I specifically sort of chose this formatting because if there's a bunch of information for someone to take in, they're less likely to really read through it. So I wanted to give them big headings to let them know, hey, this is something that I have done. And if they are more interested, they can click on it to see more. And so to discuss the specific artifacts I've chosen 4. And one is my lab reports from this year since I've been at the University of Arkansas, my habitat and garden restoration project, my event planning and social media over the course of my senior year in high school, and then my microplastic research, which is the biggest thing that I have done related to my actual career. As for another one that I wanted to emphasize was my event planning and social media. I was publicist at my high school, and in that time, I think it was a really meaningful experience because not only did I strengthen skills in sort of graphic design, but also just community building. I was gaining rapport with the rest of the student body, and they were so excited to come to events because they knew that something fun was going to be happening because they were starting to see posters, they were seeing hype around it, and it's just building that sort of rapport with other people is really important in a professional setting.
Some of the original artifacts that I have that still remain from when I initially made this in the program. When I was working at the time as a student in the graduate program, I was also part of another department at the university, but I got to leverage some of my skills in instructional design. And so I helped build modules that demonstrated my ability to teach a content management system and build a content management system with other students who were going to get to utilize it when they were coming to the University of Arkansas. So I got to talk about my skill sets across multiple competencies for visual design, for structuring online readability, web design, what you see is what you get, software, video embedding, all those kind of technical skills were demonstrated right there. And so this is where it's really began to evolve as time has gone on, and I've been able to kind of launch my career into instructional design. One of the really cool experiences that I have with the team that I work on now is we develop a podcast that focuses on pedagogy. So the science of learning, what we get to learn about and how we get to improve learning across higher education, especially in online classes. And so this is something that I really enjoy doing, and I get to highlight it here on my personal ePortfolio. And so I can include a link in there, brief description on what the podcast is, and it allows people to see that body of work, not just from a technical skill set, but something that's equally important in my field is the knowledge base. And this really demonstrates the knowledge base and how I get to implement that with the people that I work with on a regular basis. And so that's a really, really fun tool to get to showcase. And also the final thing, which really highlights what I do in the majority of my days, is online course development. And so this is something that wouldn't have existed during that program assessment version of it since I wasn't working in that field yet. But since February of 2023, I've used this page as more of a landing page to keep track of my ongoing work and development from a data standpoint. One thing I've learned, and it's there if I ever need it, is that, current employees or employers, and future employers always want data. Not just that you've done something, but to what quality and what quantity have you done something. And so this allows me to keep a running total. I update this page quarterly, depending on how many projects I've completed, and space it out based on which projects I've done. So I actually look at it now, I'm like, I can see some numbers that I get to update in the next few weeks as we're coming to the end of a certain project lifeline here. And so I really enjoy going back, and it allows me to step back and say, okay, what have I been doing lately in my work? What have I been contributing to? What have I been working on? And it allows me to really stop and think.
By using artifacts to demonstrate the things that you've done and the skills that you have, you can include those in your portfolio, and you can show what you know.